Hey everyone, it's Melissa, also known as Stitcher Mel. You can find my blog at stitchermel.com. If you're watching here, my YouTube channel is also Stitcher Mel, and I am Stitcher Mel on Instagram. This is my Flosstube video number 8, I believe is the number. And I know it's a few days ahead of schedule, but I kind of wanted to come back and recap the Fall Fling retreat I went to last weekend in Portland, hosted by Acorns and Threads, while everything was kind of still fresh on my mind. So the retreat was amazing. I went with my best friend, Tracy, who lives in Washington State. I actually flew from Southern California to Seattle, even though the retreat was in Portland, because she lives north of Seattle. And so she drove down, picked me up at the Seattle airport, and then we had the two and a half hour drive from Seattle to Portland together to kind of catch up with each other before we got to the retreat. So that worked out really, really well. So it was kind of nice to have that time together to just touch base and spend some good quality friend time together. So as we drove down, we got there on Friday afternoon, got all checked into our hotel, and then had a bite of dinner and then headed over to Acorns and Threads. They had a special shopping event just for attendees on Friday night, and they were very generous and gave us 10% off anything we purchased. So I did buy a few things, which I'll share when I get to the haul portion. And so we ran into a lot of people there, got to meet several people. It was really a lot of fun. And it was like I think a 2-hour window. So people were kind of coming and going the whole time. We were there for about 45 minutes or so, I think, something like that. Unfortunately, I had the entire weekend had a very much hurting ankle. So I wasn't really feeling up to standing around a whole lot. So we kind of did our shopping, and then we hit the road and headed on back to the hotel so I could rest my ankle in preparation for the retreat for Saturday and Sunday. Saturday morning, we got up, hit Starbucks, and then headed over to the facility where the retreat was actually taking place. It was at the Oregon State Bar Association building. Really big room. It accommodated all of us. There were about, I think, 75 or so people at the retreat. It accommodated us really, really well. We had 8 top tables, I think, something like that. 7 or 8 people per table, big round tables. The lighting wasn't the greatest, but most of us had auxiliary lighting that we had brought with us. I had my little Mighty Bright clip-on light. But I will say, 2 of the ladies at the table with me, Jennifer and Renee, their Gazelle Needleworks is their Flosstube channel. And actually Helen, I believe, Helen's not on Flosstube. She also had this, though. They had lights that came around their neck. They're book lights, apparently. So I am really intrigued by those. I'm going to order a set or order one of those because I don't like how the Mighty Bright, the lighting is great with the Mighty Bright, but I don't like the weight it adds onto my Q-snap. So I'm thinking the around the neck would be a really great option. I think Renee said they first heard about them at StitchCon because they were at StitchCon earlier this year. So that is definitely something I will be checking out. And so at our table, which I'm not sure which side I'll put it on, but I'll put a picture of all of us. So again, as I mentioned, Renee and Jennifer were at our table. And Renee is on Instagram as at Gazelle Needlework, and maybe Gazelle_Needlework. I'll link everything below. And then Jennifer is Wine Country Stitcher, I believe. And Helen, she only views on Instagram. She doesn't post. So we're going to try and get her to start posting on Instagram since she has an account. And she is at HClimac, I believe. Again, I'll put it all below. And then there was Tracy and I. Tracy, my best friend, she's on Instagram as @WowPrincess. And of course, I am at Stitcher Mel. And then we had the Nancys. One Nancy was from New Mexico, and I don't remember where the other Nancy was from. But part of me is thinking she might have been kind of local to the Portland area, but I could be wrong. But anyway, so that was our table. There were 7 of us. And we just had a really great time together the whole weekend. So, and I know Jennifer and Renee have already signed up for next year's retreat, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And Tracy and I have already signed up. Hopefully the other ladies at our table will be there as well. I don't know if they got signed up or not, but I know the 4 of us that I just mentioned, we all got signed up for it. And then, let's see. So when we got there and we got checked in, we found our table, you know, where we were going to sit and everything. And at each spot, there was a goodie bag. And, oh, but before we got our goodie bags, when we checked in, we got our name tags, which they made for us. Aren't they pretty? And you'll see down here, there's this little snowflake bead that's sewn on. So what they do is when you attend an Acorns event, you get a bead that coordinates with whatever that year's theme is. And so the theme for this Fall Fling was snow. And so we got a little snowflake bead. And I was going to sew mine on when I got back home. But Tracy whipped out a needle and thread and was sewing hers on. And she said, "Do you want me to sew yours on?" I'm like, "Sure." Oh, I just noticed I have a needle in there. It's fabric, so it works great for holding your needle too. And this is one thing I thought was absolutely brilliant. They're magnetic, so you don't actually have to pierce your clothing to wear your name tag. I thought that was genius. And it also doubles as a needle minder. Anyway, so each year you bring your name tag back. So since we were first timers, they had ours there. But there were lots of people there who have been to multiple events, and they brought their, name tags back with them and just added their bead. And you could tell how many events people had been to based on the number of beads they had sewn onto their name tag. So I thought that was really clever. And again, I really love this idea of a magnetic name tag. So I'll be using this at other events I go to as well, I think, just because I do like that magnetic functionality on it. Then another thing we had in our bag was a gift certificate. Just flash it real quick. There's not a number or anything on it, but for a 4-day period in January, we can use our gift certificate for 25% off all in-stock merchandise. So that's really cool. Thank you for that, Janine. And we did have a class kit. That was, the chart was, and I'm not going to, I'll just, how can I do this? I don't want to flash the whole chart because I don't want to give it away. Here, let me fold it real quick. But the design was charted by Michelle Garrett, Bendy Stitchy Designs, who originally was supposed to be with us. She had planned to be there and then had a family emergency and wasn't able to make it, but we still got our little kits, and so that's part of the chart. You can see it's a little snowman and a Christmas tree. And so we got the chart, and I posted this on my Instagram, and someone asked if non-retreat attendees would be able to get it. And Michelle indicated that it is going to be exclusive to retreat attendees for a period of time. And then after that, it will be exclusive to Acorns and Threads. And I don't know if that's permanently or if that's also just for a period of time. But just follow her on Instagram. She's at Bendy Stitchy Designs. And she'll let you guys know when she releases it and where you can get it and all that. But it's called Trimming the Tree. And we got a piece of fabric for it. This is 36 count Nocturne from Picture This Plus. And then we also got all the fibers for it. I believe these are DMC. Yeah, these are all DMC. And we got this cute little finishing board. I believe they said this was from Hobby Lobby. So, yeah. And then we actually ended up, they let us know, and I just noticed there's a needle in the fabric, so we got a needle too. They did let us know that they had 2 models for us to look at, which I'll post pictures of those. One was on this fabric, the 36 count Nocturne. And because it's 36 count, there was quite a bit of extra space, board space around it. So the other one they had was a 32 count, which kind of filled the board a lot more. And so they brought some in the next day. So I did buy a piece of the 32 count as well. I'm not sure which size I will use yet, because if you go with the 36 count, it's small enough that if you wanted to add like a plaid fabric or something like that behind it as another layer, you certainly could. Whereas if you do it on the 32, you don't have as much room for that. But again, I'll post pictures of both of the models so you can kind of see how they finish out. And they also had some of the extra, they had some extra of the mounting boards. So I did buy another one. This doesn't really have a barcode on it, but it doesn't matter because Jerry from Acorns, she's the woman who coordinates all the events. She did mention that at her local Hobby Lobby, they said this was not something they were going to bring back in stock, they didn't think. So she and a friend of hers had to go to something like 10 or 11 different Hobby Lobby stores to get enough of these boards to have for the finishing kits. But she did end up with like 8 or 9 left, and she was just selling them at her cost. So I bought one of those because what I'm thinking I want to do is use this for my Year in Chalk series from Hands On Design. So now I have 2 of the boards. And the pattern that Michelle designed was actually inspired by this piece of fabric, and they actually had some extra fabric left over, so they gave each of us some of the fabric for finishing purposes if we want. So you can see here's a little snowman, and here's the Christmas tree. And one of the ladies who lives local, her name is Wendy, she makes bags, project bags, I should say. And so I picked up one of the project bags made, and you can see it's vinyl front because of the glare. So I picked up one of the project bags. I went to Fall Fling not owning any fancy, I'll call them, project bags. I just used the mesh vinyl bags. But I came home with 3. And I may have ordered 3 more since I've been home, but whatever. But look at that cute little reindeer charm on the scissor pull. So cute. I love this Santa. Michelle, I think you need to do a chart with the Santa and maybe the reindeer or even the penguin. They're all so cute. Adorable. And this is not a full size, but I did buy a coordinating notions pouch. The border fabrics, they're not exactly the same. She was already sold out of this size bag with this green ivy, whatever fabric, but it still coordinates nicely because it's the same fabric family. So I bought that. Oh, and then this was the second piece of finishing fabric they gave us. Everybody who was there got these 2 pieces of fabric, which I would say is probably about a 10-inch square, maybe 9 or 10 inches probably. Okay, so that takes care of all the kit stuff. Then on day 2, I'm trying to move some things out of my way. Just a minute. Okay. Then on day 2, when we came in, we had more goodies on our table. This time it was these fun, I don't know if I can get this from the glare. There we go. I think that's probably best. We got these cool vintage or retro kind of lunch boxes. And it says, I was a cross stitcher before cross stitching was cool. Actually, I take that back. We got these on Saturday afternoon. So this was still a day 1 gift. And then inside, we had this really cute little snippety is what they're called, I believe. And this is a magnet. So I'll grab my needle off my name tag and you can see That is a magnet. And then on the back, it says Fall Fling 2019. And it fits really nicely right inside the lid here. And because of the magnet, it will stick. So, only on one side though, but... And then we also, inside the lunchbox, got an Acorns and Threads sticker. We got a peppermint. And of course, because Acorns and Threads has a bowl of M&Ms in the shop, we all got a little bag of M&Ms. Then when we came back the second day, Jerry and I believe Jolynn maybe had partnered together to do a chart for what's here on the front so that if anybody wanted to stitch it, they could. And I'll just flash this for a second because it's just the chart. It's not a picture or anything. So we got that as well. And so what I'm thinking I may do is stitch it. And instead of having this up in the lid, I may mount that up in the lid. So that way, if I want to display it this way, I've got it printed. But if I want to, create a vignette and have it open, it would still have the little saying on it. So that's my thought. Okay, so that takes care of the lunchbox. Then also in the afternoon on Saturday, we had the ornament exchange. And as I had promised, in my last video, I did take pictures and a quick video of mine. So I will insert that here. As promised, I am hopping on and showing you a quick video of the ornament I made for the ornament exchange for the Fall Fling retreat. This is what I made. It is a pattern ironically called Little Fall Fling by Loohoo Stitches. And I stitched it on a piece of 16 count Wren Aida from Picture This Plus. I don't usually stitch on Aida, but it worked really well for this, and I had it in my stash, so I used that, and I stitched it with all of the called for fibers. And then for the back, I repeated these little acorns from the front of the chart on the back, and then added Fall Fling and the year, and then my name and the state where I live. And then I don't know that you can tell, but I added some batting behind it, just some Warm and Natural to give it a little bit of padding. Then I used some Rick Rack and Chanel from Lady Dot Creates for my finishing. This is the Mother Load color. So yeah, that is the ornament I made. And at the time I'm filming this, I have not yet gone to Fall Fling, so I don't know who won it yet, or not won, but who received it in the exchange. But in my recap, I'll share that information. So, but this is the ornament I made. So that was what I made for my ornament. I thought it was really appropriate since that chart is actually called, and I don't remember if I said it in the video or not, it's actually called Little Fall Fling by Loohoo Stitches, Cynthia Young. So I thought it was very apropos for the weekend. And I didn't realize it at the time that it was, I guess, supposed to be an anonymous ornament exchange. And I had, of course, stitched my name and state on the back of mine. But it was fine. And Jolynn reassured me it was perfectly fine, that she kind of liked that it was personalized, because things that she gets in exchanges, she likes, to know what event she got it at and who she got it from. And so all that was stitched on mine, so it would be a permanent reminder for the lady who did receive it. And sadly, I completely forgot to take a picture of because what we did is after the exchange was over, we all put our, what we received on the table, and we wrote our name of who received it on a Post-it note. And then the person who stitched it could come by if they chose, since it was a quote-unquote anonymous exchange. If they wanted to, they could come by and write their name of what they made, of what they stitched on it as well. So that way, when the person who got their ornament went to retrieve it to take it home that night, they could see who made it if that person chose to identify themselves. And unfortunately, I completely forgot to take a picture of the Post-it note with mine, and I do not remember the name of the dear sweet lady who won it. She, I think, was a local to Acorns and Threads, and so, but I hope she enjoys it. for me, I really won in a major way. My name was literally the dead last number called, because we had little tickets, like a raffle ticket. And Jerry would reach in and draw out a ticket, and that person would go to the table, and they could either pick a bag, from the or box, depending on how they were packaged. They could pick an item from the exchange table, or if items had already been opened, they had the option to steal an item that had already been opened. And the rules for stealing were that it could only change hands twice. So you could have the person who originally opened it, you could have one steal, and then you could have a second steal. But once the second steal happened, that item then became frozen and no one else could take it. So since my name was absolute last, I knew everything that had been opened. So I had the option of stealing anything that wasn't already frozen. And there were only, by the time my name was chosen, I think there were maybe only a half a dozen or so things that were frozen. Everything else was fair game. And there were two things I had been eyeing. One was a beautiful trick-or-treat box that had a ornament inside it and a piece of coffee dyed fabric. And now you didn't have to include extra gifts. The only rules were you had to have an ornament. And so I loved that one. And then there was a second one that I had been eyeing that also had an extra gift with it, but that wasn't why I was eyeing it. I was eyeing it for the ornament, which I'll show you in a minute. And it had only been stolen once, so it was still fair game. And I apologize if you can hear the garbage collection truck. I totally didn't think about the fact that this is the time of day they would be coming by. Sorry about that. Well, anyway, so what I got was, this was the little extra gift. It's a coffee mug that says peace, and inside cute, adorable polka dots. Love that. And then the ornament. A mini drum ornament with a Dutch alphabet that spells out peace. And I don't know how well you can see, but the stitching is absolutely exquisite. Beautifully done, beautifully finished with Lady Dot Creates velvet and chenille around the top and bottom. And so I put it on the table and put my name on it, that it was mine. Sorry, I had to reach for something on the floor. And when I went to retrieve it, saw this. That's right. It was stitched by Janine McGowan of the Blue Flower Stitching. The Blue Flower. I always had stitching on it for some reason. So I was beyond thrilled that I got something Janine made. And I was amazed because this was opened very early on. Maybe within the first 10 or 12 of probably almost 50 exchanges. And nobody had stolen it at all until the very end, like 3 or 4 people before me, before my name got drawn as the last name. So I was able to swoop in and get it. And so there was one more exchange after mine, and that was, they circled back around to the first number called, and she was given the opportunity to keep what she had or to steal. And I was so enthralled with my little drum and that it was now frozen and could not be stolen from me that I don't even recall what the woman did. But anyway, the exchange was so much fun. So if you ever go to a retreat, I urge you, participate in the exchange. They are a blast. Okay, so that was that. Then we did have a few people who did gifts. I have a couple of table gifts, and then I have a couple of everyone got one gifts. So I will show the Everyone gifts first. This is a floss away bag holder that we got from Robin. I think she's, if memory serves, Lady Robin S on Instagram, and she has a Flosstube. And again, I'll link it below. So there's like one little Flosstube bag on here, and this is like really nice heavy duty mat board. And inside there's a thread peel. I use them for holding my fabric on my Q-snaps. There's a lifesaver, and there's a Band-Aid, which is very apropos considering how many of us stick ourselves at times with our needles. So there was that. Thank you so much, Robin. And then this was kind of a everyone and table gift because it was from Renee and Jennifer of Gazelle Needleworks. And they gave us these cute little bags. And inside the bag was this gorgeous thread key. How beautiful is that? I love that blue pumpkin. And I actually ordered a project bag from Denise at Goose that has the same kind of aqua pumpkins on it. So I cannot wait to put this with that. And then on the back, it's got a little heart. So beautiful. And Renee said her niece, Jennifer's daughter, helped her do all of these. And then it has a little squirrel charm in the bag as well. And then their card, Gazelle Needlework, Gazelle's Needlework. And then they have all their information on the back with their Flosstube and their address and that sort of thing. So thank you, Jennifer and Renee, for that. Of course, I thanked you in person, but thank you again. And then the woman at our table, Nancy from New Mexico, she does not have Flosstube or Instagram or anything like that. She gave us table gifts. And she does a lot of stonework. And so she gave us these pendants. And every one of them was different, and we got to choose. And when it was all said and done, she asked to see what each of us chose. And then she was just like, oh, that's the perfect one for you. So it was really nice. It's very, I don't know how well you can see. It's almost holographic, the little patterned part. So, and then we got these beautiful scissor loops. And again, each one was different, and she just had a big bag of them, and we got to choose one out of it. And then the nice lobster claw finish on there, so it'll fit any size scissor. Beautiful. So thank you for those, Nancy. She doesn't watch Flosstube, but in case she does, we gave them the information while we were there. So that takes care of those. Then on the second day, which was a shorter day, the first day we were there from 9:30 to 5:30. Then on Sunday, it was 9:30 to 3:30. So it did end a little earlier. But Jolynn, who is the fantastic finisher from Acorns and Threads, and just all around adorable, sweet, amazing woman. Love you, Jolynn. She gave us little charts. I'm only going to flip it quickly. To make a wool snowman ornament. And she had everything there, all the stuffing, and gave us instructions on, how to do the blanket stitch around the edge. Love this. I've already bought felt to make more of them. They're so cute, and kind of investigated other options of wool felt ornaments that I can make because I think they're super cute. Yeah, so if you're one of the people I spend Christmas with, you may be getting a wool felt ornament for Christmas. I'm just saying. And it was great. She had a table set up, and she had the irons there for us to trace, because we traced the pattern onto freezer paper and then pressed it onto the wool to cut it out. And so she had everything set up. She showed us how to do a quilter's knot, which was amazing for like stitching on the nose. And then she showed us a great loop start method for the blanket stitch. And then she was demonstrating how to do colonial and French knots, which are what we used for the mouth. And then she had all the little buttons that we could have to sew on. And then, of course, the ribbon for the little scarf. I did get my mouth just a little low. That's why I keep kind of tugging on the ribbon. I think I'm going to have to tack the scarf down so it will stay down. But, you know, you live and you learn. I wasn't thinking about the scarf when I was stitching his little mouth. So, but then again, so often we cover our mouths with our scarf anyway, so I don't know that it matters. So, anyway. So that was that. And then now haul. So as I mentioned, I got 3 bags while I was there, and I've already shown you these 2. The third one I didn't actually buy, so I guess it's technically not haul, it's stitchy kindness. The very first bag I ever got is an Olivia bag from Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, and I absolutely love it. And this was purchased for me by Tracy, my best friend, and she gave it to me when we got there. How beautiful is that? And if you don't know, I am a big coffee fiend. So this bag, absolutely perfect, and it's beautifully finished. Inside, we've got a really nice lining. Everything's just finished beautifully. Really nice zipper, and this nice kind of vintage looking lace trim. So yeah, so thank you so much for making an awesome bag, Olivia. I love it. And thank you, Tracy, for giving it to me. I love it. Okay, and now haul stuff I bought. I'm trying to divide it into the stuff I got at the shop and the stuff I bought in the pop-up store. So I'm sorting things very quickly here. Okay. So stuff I bought at the shop on Friday night. This is Needles Dance from Summer House Stitchworks, Ink Circles, and Hands-On Design. This was released at Nashville Market earlier in the year. And the only shops that are allowed to carry it were shops that were at Market. And so I have kind of been wanting this, but I have the few shops I knew that had it had already sold out. So I was very excited to see this. I'm planning to do it not on the blue fabric, but on a whiter antique white fabric. The fibers are the same. It's just a matter of what fabric you stitch it on. So don't know when I'll stitch it, but I grabbed it while I could get it. I picked up Boo to You from Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread. And actually, I had completely missed this one and was in line to check out. And Tracy found it. And she's like, she brought it over to me and she goes, "Isn't this that Halloween chart you wanted?" And I was like, "Yes, thank you." So I was able to get that. And I kind of wish now that I had picked up, because she had, I can't remember what it's called, Mary something. It's the Santa from her Christmas release. But of course I was already in line and I didn't want to get out of line, and we didn't go back to the shop before we left, and they didn't bring these to the pop-up store. So I didn't have a chance to get it. So when I got home, I had put in an order with Dreama at Needlecraft Corner, which is kind of my go-to online purveyor of cross-stitch goodies. And she's like, "I don't have it in stock, and unfortunately I can't get it right now because Brenda's shop is not on, it's offline right now. So I can't order it. So I'm going to have to be patient and wait for that one." So that definitely will not happen for this Christmas, but hopefully I can get it for next Christmas. So, but I did order something from Dreama, which I will show you when I get it. Okay, the next thing I got was Ink Circles Henna Mandala. I have loved this ever since I first saw it. I'm trying to get rid of the glare. And I've had it on my wish list for a while, and it's charted with Gloriana red clay, and I just was like, I don't know if I can justify the cost for that, because I have thyroid issues, and so I have extremely dry skin. And working with silks is not always the easiest thing to do, but I couldn't not get it. So yeah, so I will be doing this with the Glorianas called for. It said you would probably only need 2, but since Gloriana is a dye lot silk, I went on and grabbed 3 just to be safe, because I don't know what size fabric I will do it on. Let's see what it's called for fabric-wise. Oh, it's 32 count, so yeah, I should be fine. And I can always use that third Gloriana for something. It's 12 strand, so I could do, you know, a monochromatic ornament or something like that with the extra. Okay, next, I did not buy this. I already had this, but I just wanted to show you what the chart looks like because I got the fabric and fibers for it. This is Midnight Ride from Blackbird Designs. And it calls for R&R Prim Green, but I couldn't find that anywhere. So instead, I got the R&R Salt Marsh Green, which got the official Janine stamp of approval when I was in the shop. So, and this is a fat quarter. So I'll have plenty to do. There's not only this design, there is also a little hat pin cushion. So I'll have enough fabric to do both. And then I picked up, I'll flip it around. I picked up the called for fibers for that. So yeah, I think those look really nice. It's Fragrant Cloves, Garden Gate, and Onyx from Gentle Art. And again, that is Salt Marsh Green R&R. And then I didn't kit this one up. I just got the chart. This is Pumpkin Farm, also from Blackbird. This is from the Anniversaries of the Heart series from a couple of years ago. What year was it? I don't remember now. Does it have a date? Oh, 2010. So almost 10 years ago. Whatever. So, but yeah, this has always been my favorite house in that series. And I'm not going to stitch the whole series, but I did want this one because I love pumpkins. Olivia and I have that in common. We both love pumpkins. So, yeah. So that was everything I got at the shop on... Oh, no, I'm take that back. They only had a pack of 2, but I thought these were so fun and cute. And they don't make them anymore. They're discontinued. But they have these like fun, funky Q-snap replacement clamps. So even though I only have 2 of them, I can, you know, pair it with white. It won't matter. So, but I thought those were cute. So that's everything I got at the shop. So now we will go to the pop-up store. So we did have, in addition to the Acorns and Threads pop-up store, there was a trunk show from My Big Toe. And so they had a lot of her needle minders and thread keeps and threaders and marking pens and even some charts. So a really huge variety of stuff. And as you may remember from when I got my coffee bean scissor fob earlier this year, I love My Big Toe Designs mini scissor fobs. And I normally get mine from Down Sunshine Lane from Amy because I didn't know Janine carried them at Acorns and Threads. So, but I picked up another one. It's a sun with some really beautiful fall colors. And I love the nice lobster claw that'll fit any size handle scissor. I actually had these on my little plastic travel scissors. I can't remember now what they're called. Rainbow scissors or something like that, which have a really thick handle, but it fit just fine. But I put it back in the package to show it off in the video. So, but yeah, I love that sun. Really pretty. And then I did she had these really fun rainbow marking pens. Ooh, one of them's a little high. Let me fix that real quick. Rainbow counting pens. So I picked up a set of those. Counting pens are so handy. If you're not using them, you really should give them a try because you don't have to then keep counting over and over and over again. Like I'll show you in a minute, one of the pieces I started, it had a long border strip on it. So I counted it the first time, put in my marking pen, and I knew exactly where I needed to go. So I didn't have to keep counting over and over. So they're awesome. Okay, so those were my big toe things that I got. I picked up a couple more of Michelle Bindy's charts. I picked up Hildy's Brew, which I've loved this one ever since I first saw it, so I'm happy to have that. And I may actually, if it's big enough, I might do this on the extra piece of Nocturne fabric I have. I'll need to just figure out if the piece is big enough. And then I also got her Noel, which I am a big Starbucks Red Cup fan over the holidays. So this is like perfect for me. And this one calls for the Zweigart Petty Point linen. As you can see, the blue with the white dots. And I'll probably do it on that. Oh, and I didn't say this one, it calls for Echo from Picture This Plus, but I think Nocturne would work well too. Next, I picked up another one of the, and I actually got this before we got the lunch boxes. This is another one of the Snippities, and it has acorns on the back, and so I thought that would be a fun retreat memento since it has the acorns. Not realizing we were going to get one in the lunch box, but never hurts to have more than one. And if you're not familiar, these you can use to hold like your extra threads, you know, as you're working or whatever on your project. And again, this one has the magnet in it as well to hold your scissors or needle or whatever. This I was super excited to get. It is the exclusive acorn autumn drum from the Blue Flower. And as you can see, Janine signed it for me. So I've never made a drum, so I'm excited to give this a try. But I thought this was an amazing deal. It was $30, and it comes with the linen and the silks. So I thought that was a great deal. I'm pretty sure these are Belle Soie silks that are in there based on the color names. But yeah, this was an exclusive kit for acorns and threads. So, yep. And then the last thing she had in the pop-up shop, when she had a lot of things, she had quite a few things. There was the lady selling, Wendy, who was selling her project bags. There was the My Big Toe. There were miscellaneous things from the shop. There was a lot of Michelle's stuff since she was our guest designer. But she also had a consignment shop that she was running for Lakeside Linens. They were half-yard cuts, so they were spendy. But she had my absolute favorite Lakeside linen, a half-yard cut, and so I had to buy it. 36 count vintage navy bean. La! The skies opened, the angels sang, and I bought it. So, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to stitch on it, but, you know, it's 36 counts, so it'll be, and it's vintage navy bean, so it will be perfect for samplers, you know, anything along that line. So I'm excited about that. I believe that is all the haul. So the last thing will be whips. And since my last Flosstube, before I went to Fall Fling, I had only worked on one piece. And I did actually work on it a little bit at Fall Fling as well. And that is my Glitter Village. So I believe in my last video, I was working on House 6, which is right here, which is now finished. And then I also finished House 7. And I'm getting close to finishing, fold. Getting close to finishing House 8. Let's see if I can fold this around. There we go. House 8. And then all I'll have left is House 9, and this piece will be done. I am stitching this on the called for fabric with the called for fibers. This is 32 count raw silver linen from Zweigart. My haul is falling. Then the other piece I worked on was the latest installment of the Deck the Halls Mystery Sal, which in the last video I had just finished part 4, which was the Mistletoe Kiss. And the new part 5, is Open Presents, and all I've got so far is the present, and I don't even have it completely done. There's still a couple of bits of white I need to go in there, and then I need to put in the words. But we still have another, well, the next part won't be out until next Friday, which is the 15th, I think. So I've still got time to get that one caught up. I thought I would work on it a bit more than I did at retreat, but that's okay. Then, as you may remember, I said that Tracy and I were going to start a SAL, a BFF SAL at the retreat, which we did. We're both doing Shannon Christine designs her Pumpkin Farm series. It's 3 charts, which I'll post a picture of the full piece together, which is the way we are both doing it. And ironically, when we were working at it at the table, someone had come by and was like going around to see what everybody was working on. And she started at the opposite side of the table, and then she got around to us, or vice versa. I don't remember now what the order was. And she was looking, and she said, "Isn't that what she's working on?" But she wasn't referring to Tracy or I. She was pointing across the table to Helen. And as it turns out, Helen was also stitching on this piece. So I didn't get very far. Tracy definitely got farther than me, but I did get in the top gingham border and most of the secondary border. All I need is a little flower here in the middle. And I got these cute matching needle minders for Tracy and I. I surprised her with that when we got there. Oh, and I'm stitching this on 32 count Heritage from Picture This Plus. But I got these pumpkin needle minders from Kim's Needle Minders on Etsy. And so I surprised Tracy with that. So we now have matching needle minders for our SAL. And so those are the only things I worked on while I was there. I thought I might start the retreat piece that Michelle designed for us, but I never got around to it. I did way more chit-chatting and visiting with my table mates than I did stitching. Olivia was at the next table, so she and I, talked several times. Christy from Java Girl Stitches was also there. Unfortunately, she was there. Well, not unfortunately. She was there with a group of friends. There were 4 of them. And unfortunately, they had to get back very early on Sunday. So they only were there for Saturday. They missed all of Sunday. But I did get to meet her, and she's just as sweet as you can imagine. I love her to death. So they also are all registered for next year, which I haven't talked about yet. I haven't forgotten. And so I'm looking forward to getting to see her again next year, as well as Denise from Goose. Again, sweetest person ever. One person I had really hoped to meet that I completely missed out on was Lisa from Kindred Stitches. She was a couple of tables away from me, but we just never crossed paths, and I spent most of my weekend sitting because of my hurt ankle. So I didn't, if people didn't come to our table, I really didn't get much of a chance to meet them. Oh, I almost forgot. I was talking about sitting at the table. There was something else I got that I forgot to share. So there was a contest that Jerry ran. She had this big ball of white yarn. And so it was one of those guess how many jelly beans type contests. So the contest was you had to guess how many inches of yarn were in this big ball. And so I kind of, because I do knit and I crochet, although I knit more than I crochet. And so I kind of understand yardage. But, it's like, and she did tell us that it was the same yarn through the entire ball. So she wasn't like being tricky and using like a fingering weight or sock weight yarn in the middle. It was all the same worsted weight yarn. And so I kind of know what yardage looks like on a ball of yarn. And so I used that to kind of extrapolate my best guess. And so I had guessed 3,777 inches of yarn. And so when she revealed the answer on Sunday, the actual answer was like 3,500 something. And I won. So here's what I got. Oops. Handles are flapping. I got this beautiful teal tote bag with the little tassel on it. And then inside, it's kind of obviously the lighter shade of the leather, and then it's got a little pocket. And what is not visible on this is not only did I get this fabulous bag, it had 5 $10 acorn bucks attached to it as well. So I got $50 in spending money at Acorns and Threads. And the reason those are not on here is because I signed off on them and gave them to Barb from Acorns and Threads so she could credit my account with them. So when I place mail orders, it's already on my account. But isn't that a fabulous bag? I love it. Gorgeous. So I actually used this as a carry-on on the way back because I had so much stuff it would not fit in my suitcase. Okay, so then the last thing I want to talk about, this video is really long, I apologize, is next year. So at the very end of the retreat in the afternoon, Jerry announced there would be no Fall Fling next year. And there was a huge collective no from the crowd. And she said, but there will still be a retreat. And so what they are doing, and it's not open for registration yet. If you want, and please don't call this shop, just go, if you're not on their newsletter already, go to the website, sign up for their newsletter, because that's how you're going to find out about this and know when to register. But do not inundate the shop calling them, because it is not open yet for registration. They are going to have their first annual Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit. And this is a full-on hotel retreat with classes from designers. Whereas Fall Fling was more of a social retreat. There were no classes or anything. I mean, yes, we did get the chart from Bindi, but there was no class associated with it. We did get the kit. But everyone just brought their own design, their own stuff they were stitching on. It was very casual, very laid back. This is going to be a full-blown retreat, teaching retreat. And there are two fantastic designers lined up for this already, which Janine has given us all permission to talk about. So the first designer who will be there is the amazing Beth Twist from Heartstring Samplery. I love her stuff, so I am super excited. I've got like 2 or 3 of her Coffee Elixir series, and I've got some of her fob collections. So I am very, very excited about taking a class from Beth. And then the second designer who will be with us is Paulette Stewart from Plum Street Samplers. And if you've been following my cross stitch for any time at all, you know I adore Plum Street Samplers. I'm a fan from way back when. So yeah, needless to say, super excited about that. And of course, since it is a teaching retreat, it is more spendy than Fall Fling. So, people certainly have to take that into account. I admit I had to think twice about it before I signed up because, by the time I pay for a hotel, the hotel, even though I'm sure there'll be a group rate, I'm not sure about that yet, but I assume there will be a group rate. And then my airfare cost, and then the cost of the retreat, it's going to be an expensive weekend. But I decided it's worth it. And it will be the only retreat I do next year, most likely. So, yeah. But I'm very, very excited about it. So, and I'm hoping I can use some air miles to alleviate part of the airfare cost. I do have enough air miles that I hopefully can at least get one leg, there or back, covered with my miles on Alaska. So, anyway. But yes, so definitely go by their website, sign up for their newsletter, because Janine said that is how she will announce it when it's available for open registration, that it will go out on the newsletter. So sign up for the newsletter, and that way you'll be the first to know. But since we were all at Fall Fling, we were given first dibs to register. So, and I don't know how many registered. Janine said there's going to be 100 spots for Stitch Summit. So, it's probably going to sell out quick. So definitely get on that newsletter so you can sign up and know when it's going to be available for open registration. Well, I think that is everything. Oh, one more last thing I will show. I did transfer my orts from my monthly jar for October into my annual jar. So it's getting really full. Yeah, I'll have November and December to fill, and I think I'm going to end up with a full jar. Yeah. So, but yeah, I did want to show that update. So my monthly jar is now emptied and just has my little bit of November orts so far. Okay, that's everything. I will link everyone I've mentioned, in the description box below. I will add a link to Acorns and Threads where you can sign up for the newsletter so that you don't miss out on Stitch Summit. And yeah, I hope everyone has a lovely stitchy weekend coming up. And I will be back, and it's going to be, now the next one will be a little bit longer since this one was a little bit sooner. So my next one will be in like 2.5 weeks from now. So a little over 2 weeks. And that's it. I've said that like 4 times. So yeah, I'm just going to say bye now.